YouTube, how we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo, and there's another episode of Yo Hoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Wednesday, January 28th, and we have a 9-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts and let you know what sides I like, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's recap. Recap yesterday, we cashed our highlighted play of the day. We took the New York Knicks laying 14 points against the Sacramento Kings. Like I mentioned yesterday, I was scared to lay the big number considering the run I've been on, but at full strength in Madison Square Garden was the perfect bounce back spot. They did have us sweating until the end. The score was tied going into the fourth quarter. Luckily, Jalen Brunson locked in. They won the fourth 31-15. Final score is 103-87 Knicks. Really a drop in the bucket. I need about 10 more of those in a row, but I will say the 5-2 day pushed me to 98 and 102 on every game played in the month. I'm trying to minimize the damage with my highlighted play, but being that close to having another profitable month overall tells me at least I'm not going crazy. I appreciate the support so much. Let's finish January with a bang. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. In our first matchup, we have the Chicago Bulls in Indiana taking on Indiana Pacers. Bulls are minus 135 on the money line, and the total is 236. The Pacers are starting to get back to full strength. The only players on their IR are Tyrese Halliburton and Obi Toppin. They just beat the Thunder outright as 16-point underdogs. With a lot of their key guys back, they should have a very legitimate chance to win this game. The last time these two teams played was on December 5th, and the Pacers won that one 120-105 in Chicago. Josh Giddey and Kobe White both played in that one. Now in the field house, the Pacers should be able to keep this one within a bucket. I'm taking the Pacers plus a 2 as my first selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Los Angeles Lakers in Cleveland taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavs are minus 145 on the money line, and the total is 236.5. With the amount of injuries that Cleveland's playing through, I'm actually surprised that they're the favorites here. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley are both ruled out, then Sam Merrill is listed as probable. Of course, the Lakers don't have depth in their lineup either, but they have Luka and LeBron who can win this game by themselves. Rather than taking a side, I'm looking at a prop. I'm taking Donovan Mitchell to go over 31.5 points. He's their only real scoring threat tonight, and we already know everyone plays their best basketball when they're facing the Lakers. It's damn near a tryout, and we've seen Donnie score 33 plus in his last 3 straight. Lock it in. In our next matchup, we have the Atlanta Hawks in Boston taking on Boston Celtics. Celtics are minus 225 on the money line, and the total is 231. The Celtics have been playing better basketball than the Hawks for a while now, but tonight might be a spot where the injuries catch up a little bit. Neemias Queta is listed as doubtful, and Luka Garza is listed as questionable, so they very well may be without a center. Considering the Hawks have Okongwu and Jalen Johnson in their front court, they should be able to dominate in the paint and at least keep this one within a bucket. I'm taking the Hawks plus a 6 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the New York Knicks in Toronto taking on the Toronto Raptors. Raptors are minus 120 on the money line, and the total is 220. The Knicks come into this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from New York to Toronto. They got the dominant win last night, but I will say their entire starting lineup played over 30 minutes. The Raptors are dealing with a few injuries themselves, and at the end of the day, I'm on that Knicks revenge tour. They went through a nasty 4-game losing streak, but since getting Brunson and Josh Hart back, they're starting to win games by margin. We saw them turn up the intensity in the fourth quarter last night, so that tells me they still have some gas left in the tank. I'm taking the Knicks on the money line as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Orlando Magic in Miami taking on Miami Heat. Heat are minus 150 on the money line, and the total is 230. Both teams have some injuries coming in, so let me walk you through the IRs. The Magic are close to full strength, but they are without their best player in Franz Wagner. For the Heat, the IR is a bit more lengthy. Tyler Hero's ruled out, then Davion Mitchell, Khalil Ware, and Norman Powell are all listed as questionable. I know Miami typically plays their best basketball at home, but this is their first game back after 5 games on the road. That's typically a flat spot, and the last time we saw these two teams play, the Magic won it 117-108 with the Heat at full strength. I'm taking the Magic plus the 3 as my highlighted selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Charlotte Hornets in Memphis taking on the Memphis Grizzlies. Hornets are minus 135 on the money line, and the total is 230.5. I feel like the Grizzlies typically show up at home, but the numbers tell a different story. They're just 9-13 against the spread in Memphis. They're playing through a handful of injuries. Nothing tells me they beat the Hornets outright, especially at full strength. I will say something like 80% of the money is on Charlotte, so I don't necessarily want to ride with the public, but that's the only way I could play this one. I'll lean to the Hornets laying the 2 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves in Dallas taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Timberwolves are minus 240 on the money line, and the total is 228 and a half. I was obviously impressed that the Wolves blew out the Warriors in back-to-back games, but what stood out to me was the low-scoring totals. We caught the under in the second game, and I think we're in for another low-scoring affair tonight. We know where the Wolves excel is on defense, and we know where the Mavs are lacking is on offense. With Anthony Edwards and Cooper Flag both listed as questionable, that's also another 50 points potentially off the board. I'm taking the Wolves and Mavs under 228 and a half as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Golden State Warriors in Utah taking on Utah Jazz. Warriors are minus 340 on the money line, and the total is 239 and a half. I feel like this is the type of line we'd see if Jimmy Butler wasn't injured. Now their lineup's running thin, and they've got half their active guys on the IR. Lauri Markkanen's back. I definitely want 9 points in my back pocket with the team that's 15 and 10 against the spread at home. I'm taking the Jazz plus a 9.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the San Antonio Spurs in Houston taking on the Houston Rockets. Rockets are minus 140 on the money line, and the total is 220 and a half. As a fan, this is definitely my favorite game on the board. Texas rivalry, and we've got both teams at full strength. Not only do the Spurs have the better record on the season, but they've been better against the spread in this situation. Houston stays overvalued at home. They're now 8 and 11 ATS on the season. The Spurs haven't been world beaters on the road, but they are 11 and 11 ATS, which is decent. I'm not seeing enough offensive output from the Rockets in general. I let you guys know earlier in the season, I don't trust Amen Thompson as my point guard. He is a defensive lock, but he's only averaging 5 assists with 2.5 turnovers and 19% shooting from deep. With Fox, Castle, and Wemby in the lineup, the Spurs should be able to get the upset win. I'm taking the Spurs plus a 2.5 as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Finally back in that win column. Let's see if we can stack 10 in a row in the right direction this time. I appreciate the support so much. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'm going to catch y'all. Peace.